Hey, this is Matt once again. What about 10 the videos? Another paid request this time for Kyle. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. If you do use PayPal, it's best to use the friends and family option because it seems to work best. If you can't, yeah, do the other way, that's fine, but it's best to use the family and friends option if you can. It could be requested for pretty much any type of video. But this is for Caligula, 1979 film. That I have seen this film, and I was never a fan of, but it is a crazy ass movie. Because imagine doing a historical epic about the rise and fall of a Roman emperor, but it was financed by Penthouse magazine. So you have these illustrious sets and costumes and like big scenes, like this huge contraption. There's like a giant lawnmower lopping off people's heads, and again, big like costume, like a historical epic. But there's a lot of sex scenes and a lot of dicks and a lot of pussies and a lot of sleaze. Which I wanted you to say that if you looked into the history, there was a lot of sleaze and there was sex, and maybe this is more real than people think. That some of this shit really did happen like it was. Was this, glorified like back in the day? But at the same time, do I really want to see it? Not really. Not for 2.5 hours. Mountain McDowell from A Clockwork Orange, he does a good job playing crazy as this guy that ultimately gets the mantle of being the emperor, and then he goes insane because with great power comes great responsibility, but with great power apparently comes great lunacy. Because anybody that gets to be powerful become a lunatic, and just like he does. And like I said, the way the presentation looks is grand, is big. You just feel the scale of it. That this was not a cheap movie to make. Michael McDowell is committed to being this guy that loses his mind and doing these crazy either dances or insane rants and rubilations, tribulations of his verbiage. And the opening credits, there's a nice musical theme. That bum, dum, bum, dum. But for you just thinking, what the fuck were they thinking of making this? What the fuck is the question? What the fuck? What the fuck? So Caligula, the Malcolm McDowell is in love with his sister called Drusilla, and they're lovers. So you got incest right off the bat. His, I don't know, great uncle, I forget what, Tiberius. It's played by Peter O'Toole. And Peter O'Toole, good actor, but here he seems drunk the whole time. It does fit with this character because he's supposed to be a lunatic that's got all this disease. You tell he's diseased, got all these markings on him, and he's always out of it, and he's supposed to be out of his fucking mind. I mean, one of the first things he gets Malcolm McDowell to do this goofy dance, and has this thing with his thumb. It's someone always do with thumbs. Like there's another thing where Michael McDowell's losing and he's dancing in the rain and he's dancing with his thumb like this. I don't know if that's a thing back in the day with the thumbs. I mean, Fonzie would fit well. Hey, in this fucking world. And ultimately, O'Toole gets killed. Malcolm McDowell becomes the emperor. And pretty much his deeds where he turns on people and he's fucking his own sister, and then he gets another a wife. I think it's Helen Mirren, well-known actress. Later on in her career, And then once he loses his mind. And just so many questions that I had to write this shit down just to keep up with sort of the what the fuck is going on. Like, who? I mean, it does appeal to some people. I think just because of how batshit insane it is. Because people that want porn, they just want porn, and they don't want anything longer than 15 minutes or 10 minutes, let alone 2.5 hours. And the people that want serious stuff, they don't want to watch this porn shit. So you're sitting there going, well, who is this made for? It's made for people to watch and go, what the fuck? That's what it's made for. Made for what the fuck? Like Peter O'Toole's performance, seemingly drunk all the time. He's got naked women in the pool and a lot of close-up of women's pussies that don't look that great because it's hairy. And you almost smell them from here, unwashed. And a lot of dicks. I mean, I like looking at my dick. But I don't like looking at other guys' dicks. It's not my preference. I usually don't look at my dick unless I got to piss or something else. But, so if I don't want to look at my dick that much, I don't want to look at other people's dicks with even less time frame. But a lot up close to them because, again, Penthouse produced it. And there's sex orgies, and there's masturbations, and there's a soldier that gets his dick tied, and we see it. And he's forced to get all this wine in his throat, so someone comes up and slices his belly, and see all the wine come out of his belly and drip down onto his dick. Now he is happy, is the words that come out of someone's mouth. Pure O'Toole, you see, he's lunatic for letting this stuff happen, saying, ordering this stuff to happen, and you tell how diseased he is, and a friend of his dies and says, I know there's evils to come, but I choose to escape, because he can't blame him, because he knows all this other crazy shit's going to happen. And Peter O'Toole looks like he's going to give him a pound, like this, because he's too weak to do this, but it's like, pound me. Although in this movie, I guess you shouldn't say that because it'd be a different fucking verbiage of pounding. I mean, there's a fucking scene where there's a huge orgy and you get the idea that someone's upside down and someone's pounding a steak, a wooden steak into someone's ass. And you're just sitting there going, what the fuck? Until ultimately, again, Malcolm McDowell wants to get the throne, and a buddy of his, because he can't do it, so a buddy of his finishes the job. But then pretty soon after, I guess out of paranoia, he turns on the guy who helped him get there and says, you did it, and I guess the guy either doesn't want to spill the beans, or if he did, no one would believe him. So they bury him neck deep. And that's what I'm talking about, the scale of like this gigantic looking lawnmower. I don't know how else you describe it, with all these blades where there's other people buried up to their necks, and it comes up and mows over them where it pops their heads off. So it doesn't show, it's an expensive exploitation film. And you would never have a film like this made because they would not give the budget to make this kind of exploitation film. Like the amount of budget and prestige set dressing they give, I think that's why some people enjoy it, for the audacity of it. But for me, I'm like, I just rather watch a review. Like Brad Jones, I remember he did a review of this, the Cinema Stock, because I think it's his favorite film of all time. So it's like if you watch his review, which I don't think it's on YouTube because of the content, it's on his website. I haven't watched it in a while. I remember watching it years ago. I'm like, this is your. But he's much more an exploitation film, so that's why it's his favorite. But I think because of it, just the audacity of all this money put into this shit, and there's people getting whipped and like that John Lawnmower scene, and then Malcolm McDowell. He's as bad as Peter O'Toole. I mean, there's a virgin who's ready to get married with this guy, and he rapes the virgin lady, and then the guy makes him bend over, takes a big old Crisco or whatever lube, lard, whatever, and fucking fists him. He fists the guy, and like, I mean, if I'm sure if you look back to that era, there people did some horrible things, and you read about how they did these horrible things, but no one wants to show that on screen. And this film did that. But then you're sitting there going, "Well, did I really want to see that? Not really." But I guess at least it did it. But at the same time, it's like, does that audience then want to watch porn scenes? Because Penthouse, I mean, it's like, well, so which audience are you going for? I don't watch someone get fisted and people get their bellies sliced. But then there's some women, literally, they filmed afterward where it's like a lesbian scene well, on their clities. I just, now you can jerk off here. Spoosh, spoosh, gush, gush, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Then go back to, oh my god, he's feverish in the rain with his thumb up. At least Tom Thumb putting his plums and pies, or poontang pies with the way this movie is. And now there's a horse. Of course, it's Mr. Ed, and they're in bed with Mr. Ed. That's what I said. His nickname is Ted. Or like this one guy gets killed because he did something, and when he dies, two women are playing with each other, take his blood and finger themselves, piss on his body, and then they cut the dick off, and Malcolm McDowell says, "Send those to the people I'm against." Spoiler until also just this crazy shit's happening until ultimately he had a fever, then his sister got a fever, and his sister, whose lover died, and he can't handle it, so he goes walking around like a beggar. They realize who he is, and then he goes even more crazy and decides to be like a god, where he just fucks over people because he don't give a shit anymore, as in fucking over the establishment. He doesn't take things seriously. He makes the army have battles with people that aren't fucking there, so they're wasting supplies. He takes all the senators' wives and makes them be hookers. So you have a fucking scene where a girl is sucking someone off and the jizz goes in their mouth, and they spit it back up and it cum bubbles. Great, cool story, bro. I saw the 2.5 hour version. There are versions that are longer. And he loses mind more. So of course, they don't like what the fuck Malcolm McDowell's doing. So lo and behold, one day, after seeing an omen of a bird, him, Helen Mirren, and their kid going about, they kill Helen Mirren, they take the fucking kid, smash his head against the fucking stone steps. They kill Malcolm McDowell, they stab the shit out of him, they throw him down, they wash the steps of blood. And Malcolm McDowell's dead face is there, credits. And it's like, Jesus Christ. It's a long sit. 2.5 hours is a long sit for this kind of movie. I'm trying to remember what was the other version. If someone from Dead Pit, who I watch, I would laugh my ass if one day someone gets them to do a commentary on this movie. like I said, I mean, you did. I'm sure a lot of these actors were cast because they thought they'd be, hey, it's Caesar. Well, not Caesar, but he's the Roman emperor, and they didn't think it'd be this like exploitation porno. So they did all these actors like Peter O'Toole and Helen Mirren and John Gielgud, which wasn't he in? I'm trying to remember. Like, he did a lot of Shakespeare and plays, and I think a lot of these people didn't know what the fuck they were getting themselves into. Like Helen Mirren, can you imagine what the hell people asked her about this movie? Like she was in, let me see, 2010. I almost forgot she was in that. She played the Russian lady who was up against, but all three of their allies, Roy Scheider in 2010. Much better movie. Much a movie I'd rather watch than this. Uh, the Queen voice in the Prince of Egypt. Raising Helen. The Queen is Queen Elizabeth II. Red. I liked her in Red with Bruce Willis. She was good in that. Yeah, she was Jason Statham's mom in The Fate of the Furious and Hobbs and Shaw, the other Fast and Furious sequels. Good actress. If you wonder what I'm doing, I'm just like, I was going to look at the reaction. 24% of critics perverse and indulgent, those in hardcore sex every time the plot threatens to get interesting. Well, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. They're not fucking wrong. Oh, that's interesting. In 2005, Francesco Vizzoli produced a fake trailer for an alleged remake called Gore Vidal's Caligula, promotion for Versace's new line of accessories. It featured Helen Mirren as the Empress, Tiberius, Gerard Butler, Billy Jovovich, Courtney Love, and Karen Black. Leonardo DiCaprio has cited Caligula as an influence on his performance in The Wolf of Wall Street. Well, I mean, Malcolm McDowell, a guy, I mean, he is a good actor. So, again, you're looking at the way he played the role where he was committed to what he was doing. And let me see what he says here. We're trying to pit a modern day Caligula and all the debauchery that comes with it. All the stuff that came with it was a fun process because there was really no limits to what we could do. And that's what I mean is that there was a lot of debauchery back in the day when you look into the text, when you look into what was going on there. There was a lot of debauchery going on. It's one thing to read it, it's another thing to see it. So I guess the point of, do you really want to see that stuff? That's up to the viewer, I guess. To me, I'm like, no. I could read it. I don't. Doesn't mean I want to fucking see it for 2.5 hours. And that's the thing is that there's not really a plot other than he's the leader. He goes crazy. There's a lot of sex and crazy shit going on. They realize he's too far gone. The movie's over. Like Wolf of Wall Street showed that debauchery, but at the same time, it still I thought was a. It's a long movie, but that I would much rather rewatch because that seemed, in a weird way, even though it's a long movie, it seemed much more focused. I think this was too much debauchery, that it overtook the film. any story, any drama you're thinking this movie has, the debauchery took over and that became center stage. And when anybody talks about this film, they talk about the debauchery. They talk about the crazy shit. They talk about that weird lawnmower thing, and the sex and the all the horse and all that crazy shit. So that gets absolutely overshadowed. I think the pendulums they swung it too far that side. So it's less a movie and more of a collection of debauchery scenes put together for 2.5 hours with this loose story of a guy that is gets power overwhelms him, he becomes a lunatic, they overthrow him. And again, the fact that you have these established actors and a budget for these the set and the costumes, so it doesn't feel like just a cheap, doesn't look like a cheap porno because it wasn't cheap. But as hard as a glorified porno with some other exploitation film with all the other stuff. So I just see people watching it with a curiosity of, this got made? What the fuck? But same time again, well, I guess you can't watch the highlights on YouTube because the highlights will be censored. But I don't know, maybe someone put one on Pornhub or something. I don't know. But if you want to see that stuff, there are a million videos you can watch with that. So it's an interesting piece of history, the fact that this got made and became a real thing. I actually want to check out that Versace commercial now. Gerard Butler and Mila Jovovich and Helen Mirren. What? I'm kind of curious about Helen Mirren's thoughts on it. Helen. I was surprised she would have said yes to that. I never opened my mouth to denigrate it. I was pretty young when I made it. Not physically so much as experience in the film. You know what? It was a great experience. Let's see. It was like showing up at a nudist camp every day. So there you go. So there you go. So sorry about that. Some families over to hang out and stuff, so I gotta join them. I doubt they want to converse about Caligula. There you go. Yeah, I'll ask my family, hey, you want to go watch Caligula? There you go. Fun for the whole family. That's my final 4 words on Caligula. Go watch it with your family today. Get your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your kid, brother. Go sit down amongst the fire during this cold time of the year. You know, get some hot popcorn or a hot feast, some wine or some drinks, and open up a big old can and watch some Caligula, and you'll have a good old time with the family. Be my guest. The audacity I appreciate, but I wouldn't say it was a fun time to watch. But I can't say it was boring because you're wondering what the fuck every like 10 minutes. So I can't say it's one of the worst films I've seen because it wasn't boring and it was good looking with the aesthetics, and the performances weren't bad. They played what they were supposed to play. It just, again, the shot value or the debauchery not just center stage, but just took over everything. So maybe it was more even or balanced. I think The Wolf of Wall Street did that much better and was a much better film, but that's just me. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.